So a lot of people believe you can't get abs on a plant-based diet. It's too high in carbs to actually get lean, or of course eating all of that tofu, all of that soy, that's just going to leave you with that classic skinny fat look, no real muscle definition. Well, I'm very pleased to say, hurrah, as we say in the UK, hurrah, I have done it. I am there without being the leanest, most athletic looking guy on YouTube. We do have some visual abs popping now, and I want to walk you through in this video how I've been able to get lean enough on a plant-based diet to do exactly that. Step 1 of 6 that I want to share with you here, let's not beat around the bush on this. Abs are revealed through your body fat actually being low enough in the first instance for them to visually pop, let's say. Abs are not made by the latest ab contraption exercise machine that you see being sold on those very cliched infomercial channels where you can purchase in 3 easy payments of $79. No, none of that nonsense, right? Your body fat has to be low enough in the first instance for your abs to really visually pop. Getting abs is not some kind of magical pursuit. It's really just an extension of the weight loss phase. Most people just don't actually stick with weight loss long enough to get to this level of leanness, where, as I say, the definition around the abs really shows through. How do we achieve this? Of course, elephant in the room, it's a calorie deficit. It's the thing in the whole foods community that nobody wants to speak about. It's the thing that the plant-based dieters, frankly, lots of peers in my space, very sadly and wrongly I argue, but also simultaneously the carnivore and the keto guys. Everyone is just saying, no, just do our diet and you'll magically lose body fat. Sadly, it doesn't work like that. You need to be in a calorie deficit, and you need to be so consistently, so you're just slowly chipping away at that body fat until the abs really pop through. How do you actually go about doing this whole calorie deficit spiel? Well, I personally, and this is cutting to the chase, step number 1 here, I master calories without tracking. So I don't actually live in Chronometer or MyFitnessPal or use any other nutrition, calorie, macro tracking software, believe it or not, certainly not on a day-to-day regular basis anyway. And you might be rightly kind of scratching your head thinking, hold on, Ryan, you've just ranted about the importance of being in a calorie deficit here and how that's critical to revealing your abs, but at the same time, you're not actually doing that, you're not actually exercising that level of control and tracking. No, because I don't think one are the same. I don't think calorie tracking apps have a monopoly on you being in a calorie deficit or guaranteeing that you're in a calorie deficit, although I do concede that they are a more precise way to guarantee it. Rather, what I do, and my method over the last couple of years, has been to build repeatable meals that conform to a certain calorie amount / ballpark anyway. And because my diet is so repetitive, every day my breakfast is whatever it is, for example, 550 calories. And I know it's 550 calories even though I'm not tracking. And here's the real key with this. I'm a big believer that what gets measured gets managed. So whilst I don't sit there on Chronometer and track every gram of food I eat and use that as the sort of guiding light rather for how much or how little I can eat per day, because I do believe in some element of this being intuitive, I do, though, still use measuring cups. So I know when I think that I'm using half a cup of dry weight rice that I actually am using half a cup of dry weight rice and so on. Admittedly, I'm a little bit more liberal with fruits and vegetables, I will concede. But still, after years and years of calorie tracking back in my early 20s at university, I still can look at a banana and go, yeah, probably 110 calories. And so this is where I talk about this idea, albeit slightly vague, of calorie consciousness. So I'm not a calorie tracker, but I'm still somewhat calorie aware, I would call it. So throughout the day, there is a calorie target in my mind. Not that this should in any way inform of you what to do, but just to contextualize this slightly. For me right now, I can lose body fat at about 2,500, maybe 2,600 calories at a push, at a generous push, which is quite nice. It's coming to winter, I suppose that number will lower slightly. For me, maintenance is more going to look like maybe 2,800 is how it feels right now. That's where I'll maintain my weight and I won't lose certainly too much anyway further body fat. And so throughout the day, if I know, well, breakfast is 550 calories and then I had this, moderate to large apple, that's maybe 100, 110 calories. I'm still totting things up throughout the day. I'm just not officially tracking it. So I guess you could say to a degree, I still am monitoring, caring about my calories, still keeping a watchful eye on my calories. But no, not every single thing is neurotically getting tracked into an app. And if there's a day where I sense, and I truly trust that it's from a place of genuine hunger that I would like a little bit more food, I will give myself permission to do that, and I won't be sitting there going neurotic about, but how does it fit into my daily calories or anything like that. So that's how I like to do things, is to master calories without actually tracking. Of course, the downsides are, yeah, this isn't quite as precise, but you can still know that you're in a calorie deficit without doing this, and this is how I've done it over the last couple of years. And then from this kind of mentality, I've been talking about this loads lately, of big bowls for small calories, big satisfying plates, whether it's my Buddha bowls with all that variety, that large voluminous oatmeal dish you see me use, where I sometimes throw to some people's, oh, that's heresy, to some people squealing, cauliflower rice in my oats to really bulk it up, the loaded salads that I often do. We're talking these big voluminous meals for very few calories. And again, this is important, done repetitively. So I know, hey, that meal is 400 calories, bang, 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 like every day that's going into my diet. There's already 1,000, 1,500 calories accounted for in my day from those very regular set meals that I consume. And they still, again, what gets measured gets managed. They still do get weighed out, measured, etc., etc. I'm just not really neurotic about plugging in the numbers or anything like that. Step 2, protein is still key. Ooh, the hot button one in the plant-based space. I want to be very cautious with my words on this one. I'm not going to sit here and suggest that protein is a key driver, an essential pillar in you getting abs, because again, this really just is a calorie issue over time to attack that stored body fat. Attack is certainly not the scientific word, but to get rid of that stored body fat. A protein isn't a driver in that. This is primarily, again, a calorie issue. But I'm including this by association because a lot of you guys, when you ask me about abs, you're also hitting the gym, looking to build some muscle. So I think by association, I wanted to include this point on protein for those watching this also interested in building muscle at the same time, or at least preserving it. I will not take the view that most vegans undereat protein, and protein should suddenly be you ought to be really paranoid about protein the very moment that you switch to a plant-based diet, that it somehow requires more emphasis on a plant-based diet than a meat-based one. I don't agree with those very cliched criticisms of vegan nutrition. But it is really important for muscle and tissue growth and repair at the same time. And maybe you are somebody that needs a greater than average protein intake to better facilitate those muscle building pursuits. I hit, again, not that my own numbers are relevant, but people always they're curious about my numbers to contextualize things. I hit north of about 140 grams of protein per day, which I must say for me is rather easy. Now, having a high protein diet combined with a low calorie diet, because you're trying to lose body fat, that's where things can get a little bit tricky. That's when you might need to be a little bit more fussy. Because then you can't start thinking, well, hemp seeds are really high in protein, so I'll add a tablespoon or two of hemp seeds to all of my meals, on my salads, etc., along with other protein sources, of course. But that will give me another couple of grams of protein per meal and really add things up. But hemp seeds then, again, quite high in fat, so therefore they're high in calories. So when you're looking to lose body fat and you want a high protein diet, this is when things do get a bit more tricky. But frankly, the same is true of any nutrition approach. Again, I wouldn't say this is necessarily a plant-based problem. But for me, 140 grams a day is the point I'm making at my calorie points, that 2,600 mark to lose body fat. That is quite generous. That's quite easy. That is quite easy to achieve, is what I meant to say. Things I'm loving right now in terms of protein sources, though, tofu. I'm not doing so much tempeh at the moment, but tofu, TVP, seitan, and sometimes I'm transparent about using a plant protein powder, although I do concede that I'd prefer protein from whole food sources the vast majority of time. Step 3, walk more, starve less. I like to walk daily, and it does help me eat just a little bit more food, which makes the whole process of losing weight feel, actually far more tolerable. I'm not on a diet, or it doesn't feel that way all the time, because I do so much walking, very naturally living in a medium-sized European city, which is just perfect, absolutely perfect for me, because even on a low day, I'm hitting 8, 9, 10,000 steps on a really, frankly, lazy day, up to about maybe 14, 15,000. And again, this is the critical point. It's easy for me to do it. It's natural. So there's no excuse not to do it. In fact, I kind of have to do it. That's kind of my lifestyle. It's baked in. And so every day I'm getting hundreds of calories burnt through my walking, yes. But I actually think the greatest advantage to me is this allows me to not really have the requirement to do, certainly often anyway, any kind of particularly intense cardio and burn the equivalent amount of calories that way, which can still be really effective. I don't want to bash that too much. What I notice with me personally is those very intense forms of cardio, they make me absolutely ravenous. And the greatly ironic thing of sort of eat less, move more, for me actually, at a certain point, assuming I'm already doing a little bit of movement anyway, at a certain point, moving more is actually really, really unhelpful to me because my appetite just goes boom, especially with the more intense stuff. So that was a big problem I had when I was doing the martial arts a couple of years ago, which I loved. And I still intend to continue in the future and go back to in the future. But one problem I had is I'd get home from those martial arts sessions at like 8, 9 p.m. and I had the appetite to eat like 1,500 calories and more than compensate for the calories that I burn in the martial arts sessions themselves. I don't have this problem with walking. It doesn't elevate heart rate. It doesn't spike appetite for the same amount of calories burnt. And so for me, that's why I always say walking is an absolute fat loss cheat code. I love it. And it's allowed me to just eat a little bit more food, make the whole process far more enjoyable rather than starve. Step number 4, what about other exercise then? I keep my training very, very simple. No fancy split, right? Nothing too, I think, contentious or groundbreaking here. I just do strength training 3 to 4 times per week, usually with a rest day in between them. And a little bit, as I say, of maybe every now and again. Honestly, it's probably averaging once a week, maybe even less right now. A little bit of slow, gentle cardio. I'll sit on the recumbent bike for 20 minutes. I'll do a high incline walking treadmill. Sometimes if I'm feeling brave, I'll use the Stepmaster, the Stairmaster. But again, appetite bang if I go too aggressively at that. So slow cardio from time to time, but mostly it's just the walking. And then it's my strength training sessions 3 to 4 times per week. In the gym, I do nothing fancy. I want to hit PRs and I want to get stronger, and that helps with the muscle growth. Again, this is completely separate to the conversation about abs, but including this by association. And yeah, we're going for PRs, the whole hypertrophy principle stuff, progressive overload, etc., etc. I do agree with all of that. I do buy into all of that, and that's helped me build a little bit of muscle over the last couple of years. Absolutely, it's been really, really good fun to do that. But yeah, nothing particularly fancy. I have my leg day, which I did yesterday, and then I do usually back and biceps or back and triceps together, chest and shoulders together, and then the remaining arms. Core, I just throw in from time to time. I meant to speak about core. Again, the abs, they're made through that consistent calorie deficit, getting the body fat around, you know, the midsection thin enough for the abs to actually visually pop through. However, there are things you can do again to bring up the development of the abs. There is nothing wrong with the classic sit-up. I personally find the best ab development, anecdotally, for me has been hanging leg or knee raises, but I appreciate, without sounding patronizing, this is quite a difficult movement, and took me certainly a long time to build up to in my gym career. My gym life, career is not the right word. It sounds far too over the top. Planks, there's nothing wrong. Like, it's considered a beginner movement, and I think that's correct. I think at some point you have to progress from the plank, but planks are a really great way to develop your core as well. So yeah, I'm spieling again. What I'm trying to say is I split my workouts up by body part, and that way I can give each body part, chest, shoulders, back, whatever, enough attention, enough volume to actually force growth in it, because I've been doing this for a while, and just 1 or 2 exercises isn't gonna do it like when I was a beginner. Interestingly, this is why, for beginners, and if I was starting from scratch, I would actually just do full body workouts, not the body part splitting that I have actually just described that I like to do. It's not actually what I advise. If you're new to the gym, new to strength training, honestly, if it was me, I'd just start out with 2, maybe max 3, but frankly 2, for the first couple of months at least. Full body strength training sessions per week, just 2 of them. I've actually got in the Google Drive folder, I'll find it, and I'll put it into a PDF or a Google Doc, I'll put it in the description box for you. I've actually got a beginner full body workout plan that kind of breaks down exactly how I'd go about this if I was starting again. So I'll stick that in the description box for you if you are new to this and you are interested. So that's how I like to do things, but generally speaking, I keep my training simple. There's nothing fancy. I don't think I need to do high intensity activity. I don't believe necessarily there's a certain zone. I think there are merit to these arguments, but a certain heart rate zone that is most optimal for body fat loss. No, really, it's about consistency. It's about doing things consistently, not necessarily things perfectly from a scientific perspective, because that's the plan you're actually going to stick to and find sustainable. So for me, it's the strength training, it's walking every now and again, it's a little bit of slow cardio. I play tennis, don't I, every week or two, and that's been enough. Step number 5, flexible structure. This is the fun one, but also the tricky one, right? This is one that I see people take way too far. Ryan, I needed some balance like you're always talking about. I wanted it to be sustainable, so I had a cheat day. I'm like, no, that's not what I mean by flexibility. Not just an excuse for an all-out blowout and a 5,000 calorie cheat day. That's not what I mean. But over this last 3 months, I certainly haven't been perfect. I haven't finished every single day at 2,500 calories. I have gone over. There's some days where I've gone way over, you better believe it. There's some days where I've actually stuck to it without using any home-cooked meals, because I've been in Germany or been back in the UK, or like the last couple of days, my auntie and uncle here from the UK, and so we were trying some veganized Czech food, and I was out and about having fun with them, and there were some baked goods, etc., etc. But out of the 4 in 5 days they were here, I still was able to keep on my fat loss goal and stay in a calorie deficit. And this is with some kind of flexibility and flexible mindset. Again, I talked about this idea of calorie consciousness. One of the big principles that I try to teach my clients is, look, you don't have to be perfect. Like, mostly we want whole, clean foods, obviously, from both a weight loss but also a health perspective, obviously. But you don't have to be perfect to get results round the clock all the time. And the way that you do this is with what we call inbuilt flexibility. The deviations get accounted for, they're not in excess, right? So people have problems when they eat their normal diet and then they go and obliterate 1,500 calories worth of junk food on a binge. That's a problem. Whereas when you actually build the deviations into your diet, well, I'll have a slightly smaller breakfast today because I know I'm going to grab maybe a slice of cake or something when I meet my friend for some coffee later on. Or, yeah, my auntie and uncle here. All right, well, what am I going to do for dinner? We're going to be out. Okay, I'll take them to this restaurant. Let me have a look at the menu. All right, it's not going to be perfect, but I'll choose one of the better items on the menu. But look, realistically, there's going to be oil and maybe some invisible dressings there, and maybe it's quite a whole foodsy meal, but I know it's not going to be perfect. Or maybe every now and again I do have that G&T. I'm not going to recommend alcohol. I don't think it's a good thing. And actually, there's months of the year where I don't even think about it. 6 months every year, basically, where I don't drink any alcohol. But just that allowance for that 200, 300 calories here and there of something that's actually not that healthy, I will concede, but it allows you to just exercise the kind of flexibility to where this feels so realistic that you can't actually fail. And although for me, I think this fat loss journey has taken a little longer to get kind of the abs really popping than I ideally would have liked, yes, I think the fact that I've made it slow and steady and I've allowed myself these little concessions is what's actually contributed in many ways to its sustainability, for my ability to actually stick to it, because I can still get results when I've got guests. When I'm in Germany, I'm going to the UK again next week. That's going to have new challenges as well. And so, yeah, I want to make clear, when I do bend the rules of my program, when I do eat out, it's mostly with pretty innocent things like maybe some vegetable sushi. I go to the salad bars that I'm often posting my Instagram, so on and so forth. So I'm not having these crazy deviations often, or certainly not intentionally anyway. But when they do happen, like when I do have the almond croissant, it is accounted for. It's bit up, right? That's probably 400 calories. How am I going to fit that into my daily calorie allowance, quote unquote, again, through the calorie awareness and consciousness without tracking everything, but just roughly guesstimating. And for me, that's how I've been able to get lean recently, but also then stay there without totally hating it, without like resenting my diet and still falling into that, once I cross the finish line, then I'm done. Screw this diet because I hate it so much. No, I actually like this. I can live this way because it's got that 10% flexibility. And lastly, of course, step number 6, the real secret. And I think, sadly, this is going to be a little bit of a disempowering reality check for folks, but abs are not built in 6 weeks, right? It is through sustained, consistent effort at fat loss. Like I said earlier on, getting abs is not some magical pursuit that is very different from just the process of losing body fat, just the process of losing weight, right? It's just pushing further. It's getting to those much lower levels of body fat to where you can really see those abs popping through. And that ain't happening for most people in 6 to 8 weeks. Of course, it depends how lean you currently are. And this is where the reality check comes in. And like, I want this video to be inspiring and empowering to the folks that want to push beyond and get really kind of lean, fit, that more athletic. Get slim, amazing in the first instance, but if they want to push beyond and get that more athletic look. Like, I want this video to encourage people to do that if that is their goal. At the same time though, I can't help but give people this reality, want to give you guys, frankly, this reality check that getting to the level of leanness that allows your abs to pop, I think people underestimate how much weight they have to lose. This is what I've seen historically in order to achieve that. And I've kind of got this, I joke with my clients about it, this plus 10 pounds rule, that if a client says to me, oh, I want to look like this shape I used to in, here's an old photo of me, Ryan, or I want to look like this celebrity physique, here's a photo of them. So yeah, I'm thinking about 20 pounds. And I look at it and I'm like, that ain't 20 pounds, that's like 30, 35 pounds. I don't mean this in a condescending way, though it may come across as such, but I think most of you guys are seriously underestimating how much body fat you have and how much needs to go to have that more lean fit look. So again, I know this is kind of disempowering because it's like these are not that close. Like getting abs is not really that close. It might not be as close as you presently think, but I promise you, of course, there is a superficial vain element to it, to my reasons for having abs. Of course, I'll concede that. No BS about that. But honestly, this journey, especially this fat loss phase in the last couple of months, it's been amazing in so many ways beyond what I'm seeing in the mirror. And so I do want to encourage you, if you want to do this, to really push, to really do this. And I promise you, the return on investment, the ROI, is so worth it. It is so worth pushing and getting there and getting to that more athletic level. But please do not be impatient about it. Please do not think you're 8 weeks away from abs when really you've got like 10, 15 pounds to lose. It's gonna take longer and you're at this more advanced stage where you don't have as much body fat to lose anyway. It is gonna be a bit slower for you than maybe the first 10 pounds when you had 50, 60 pounds to lose. And this is again why we drive home this big point as I kind of finish with every video on. It's kind of repetitive. If your plan's not sustainable, your abs won't be either, the progress won't be permanent, and you just go sliding right, I say sliding, you're gonna go flying right back up the scale, stuck in that kind of classic diet roller coaster that I'm always describing, the yo-yo weight loss, weight gain, rebound, binge, relapse cycle that so many people get stuck in. So yeah, you could push and maybe get your abs visible in just 6 weeks, really, really aggressively. We know where this goes. I'm sure I don't need to lecture you on this. We know where this goes. Slow and steady, it's unsexy, but it really does win the race. And if you want the exact structure and strategy that I used, right, the right calorie balance to be in a moderate deficit, the meals, the plant-based meals, the big satisfying plates and bowls, and of course the accountability and support to make fat loss simple. That's literally what I do with my clients inside Slim and Sustain. Maybe you don't want abs, then you probably haven't got this far in this video. Maybe you do want abs. Whatever, the process is still the same. Getting abs is really just how long you stick at it. But these are all the fat loss principles that I've helped my 600 plus clients with since 2019. So if you're interested, click the link below. You can go and learn more about joining Slim and Sustain at that webpage. See you in the next one.